So the agenda of this video is to learn Lightning Datatable. And the requirement or the use case that we are going to solve in this video is we are going to create a Lightning data table, and that data table would be for accounts records. And this data table should have the following columns: name, owner name, phone, website, annual revenue, and it should support following features. So like I said, you need to have a website field in the data table, right? So the moment somebody clicks on that website's link, they should be able to open that website, but on a new window. Not new window, sorry, new tab. Then second is that upon clicking on one of the account name, I should be able to open that particular account on a new tab. The third thing that it should support is that I should be able to do sorting on Lightning data table on two columns, which are name and owner name. The fourth requirement is that I need to have an input box and a button for filtering the accounts by account name. The fifth thing is that we need to have the data table to support inline editing for all the columns in the table except the owner name. So let's quickly start. So the output is going to look something like this. For now, I have certain filter conditions due to which I'm only getting 3 accounts. I'm able to sort these accounts by name. I'm able to sort by owner name. I'm able to do the inline editing. I'm able to open the YouTube or the website link in a new tab. I'm able to open the account details page in a new tab. This is the desired output. This is what we are going to see, that how did we achieve this. Before that, if this video helps, please do like the video, share it with as many you can, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Let's begin with creating a simple Lightning data table first. So first of all, I'm going to add the attributes and the init method. I'm going to use these two attributes, data and column, and I'm going to use the init method. Next is what I'm doing is I'm just creating a simple Lightning data table. Now this, the key field is with which a data table is able to uniquely identify each record. Columns, we are going to fill in the columns value in the init method. Data is all the data that we are getting from Apex. So let's save this. Now let's go and create init method. So I'll go to my controller. This is my init method. What is it doing is it is setting up the values in columns. The first one is name, owner name, phone, website, annual revenue. Now our first requirement was also that the website field should be a URL, and when you click on it, it should open in the new tab. For now, you can ignore this editable and sortable and everything. Just look at the label and field name. So whatever field name we have those are the API names. For now, you can also ignore the owner name. We are going to cover it next. But for now, just look at the other fields: name, phone, website, annual revenue. These are the API names of the fields, and these are the labels that we'll be using here. The type of each fields are like text, phone, URL, and currency. When I make it URL, it displays in the form of a URL. When I click on it, by default, it opens in a new tab. Then we have this helper method called get account records. So let's make that method. Let me go to the helper, and here I have get account records. Now, first of all, let me tell you that this is my Apex class. And in this Apex class, I'm writing get accounts one. In that, I have a parameter, which is filter account. That's optional if you want to pass, else you can just pass a blank. What am I doing here is in my query, I'm saying that select ID and all the fields that I need from account, where industry is equal to financial services. Now this is escaping the single quotes, because if I want to write this query in, let's say in the query editor, I would write it this way, right? Like where industry equals like this, right? And then inside I'll be writing financial services. So if I want to use these single quotes within this code, because it's like a dynamic query that I'm trying to create, then I need to escape it. So for escaping, I use this backward slash before single quotes. So it would go something like this. So that is why we have written the query like this. And then if there is some filter account, there's some value, it's not blank, then I'm just going to add at the end, like name like the filter account. It's not equals, it's like. So it should get all the accounts which has a close match with what we entered in that filter box. And then simply we are just executing that query by using database.query and returning the value. Now here we are passing filter account. If there is some value, it will get passed. If not, it will go blank. What are we doing here? We are getting the response from this method get accounts one, and the response that we get, we are passing it in data. For now, just ignore this part. And then we are setting the data to v.data. Now v.data is an attribute that we created here. And yeah, you can ignore this also for now. Okay, now the next thing that I told you to ignore for now was owner name, right? Why owner name? There is no such field called owner name in account. So let me show you. I go to account, fields and relationships. We have owner ID, but not owner name. So why have I done like this? Because so let me show you the query here. When I'm passing this result to my Lightning component, it returns owner dot name. So it goes to the owner as in the user object and then picks the name of that owner. Now, if there is a two level of data coming, we cannot directly write owner dot name here. It wouldn't work. So for that, we always need to use owner name, which is the name that we define. And how do we get value in this is, let's go to the helper. So what do we say is, we iterate through all the columns that we got, and for not columns, I mean all the rows that we got from the apex, all the rows are present here because response.getReturnValue is here. I iterate through each and every row, and then what do I do is, in that what we have is data I.owner.name, and I'm transferring it to owner name. Now this is the field name that I'm using for owner.name in my data table. So now in my data table, there is no such field called owner.name. There is only a field called owner name in which we have the value of owner.name. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And this is how we get the data. So now we'll create a tab. Let's create a tab for this. Name it data table. Let's save it. Okay. Now let me refresh. Let me find data table. So here is the data table that we have. Okay. Right now, nothing is working because we have not added the logic behind it, but this is a simple data table that we got on all these accounts have industry equals financial services. So yeah, that's about it for now. Let's continue with the next thing that we have to develop. Now, the next thing is the type attributes that we have. Why do we have type attributes in Lightning Data Table is so that we can have some extra customization that we want to do. Now, one of such type attributes is row actions. So what is it doing is, if we want to have any, actions like delete, view, or something like that on a particular record, or each record you would say, then we would use row actions and bind it with action. And then in Lightning Data Table, we have a attribute called on row action. The moment this happens, like the moment you do that action, any action, then it would go to a method. So similarly, for our first requirement that we had, that you should be able to click on a particular account and open that account in a new tab. For that requirement, what we did is we are going to add one action in our Lightning data table, and that goes something like this. So first, let's define that action. Here it is. The label of that action is going to be view, and the API name would be show details. Now let's add that action here. How do we do that? We'll add one more column here before name, which would be for action, type attributes, row action, bind it to this actions. Actions is this that we made. Now, upon clicking this, what should happen? Where do we handle that? Like I told you, in Lightning Table, we have on row action, and in that we have given a method that we are going to call. So now let's add that method in our controller. So here is the method that I am adding. Now what's exactly going on here is, so when that action would be present on here and I would click on that and click on view, what it would do is, it will get me the current row ID or the current record ID using this, and that would be stored here. Now, nav service and all I need to define. So let's enter those attributes as well. So we need to declare some attributes like page reference and nav service. This is for redirecting to that particular account detail page. So what am I doing is I'm getting the component.find nav service. In page reference, it is of type standard record page because it's going to a standard page of a particular record. Its attribute would be the record ID. So here we'll get this particular account's ID and pass it over here. Which object am I looking at? Account. And what is the action name? View, right? And then I'll set the page reference with this page reference that we made. And then we are going to do handle URL and window.open URL. This we have done is because we want to open this particular record in a new tab, right? So that is why. And then nav service.generate URL, and this is the standard code that you will find. So it will open this particular account in a new tab. So I'm saving this. Yeah, let's refresh. Okay, now because we added action, this extra column got added. Now let me, so this is the action that we defined, view. Okay, so because of my code, it opened the account and it opened it in a new tab. So this was our first requirement. Now the next requirement that we also mentioned about was that when somebody clicks on website, it should open in a new tab, right? That would automatically be achieved if you define the type as URL. So let's suppose I'm in the Lightning data table. This is the URL. And when I click on it, it opens in a new tab by default. Okay. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is add the ability to sort the data table by name and owner name. So in Salesforce developer docs, if you try to find Lightning data table, you will come here and then you have to select sorting in data table. So here they have given that what all you need to add in the Lightning data table. So there are these 4 attributes which they added. Default sort direction. It means without like you sorting, the moment you enter the page, what would be the default sort direction? So here they have mentioned ascending. Now sorted direction. Now what is that? So it is the current direction in which this is already sorted. So currently, let's say it is ascending, right, by default. So that's why the already sorted direction is ascending, and that is what is getting stored here. Sorted by, what is it already sorted by? That is given over here. Then we have on sort. Now, when somebody clicks on that arrow of sorting to ascending or descending, this is the method which happens in the backend. Now, coming to the controller, it goes to helper handle sort. Now, according to the code that they have written in the handle sort, honestly, it was very difficult for me to understand. I did not understand this. They have written clone data dot sort, and they come here and not sort, sorry, this dot sort by, and then they have used this method, and then they had some primer and reverse and all that. So I did not understand all this. So what I did is I tried learning this on my own, and let's see how did I do it differently. Now, just like them that they have done, I have added these 3 attributes in my Lightning component: sort direction, default sort direction, sorted by. Now let me add these things over here in the Lightning data table. So in default sort direction, I have ascending for now. Sorted direction, again, it would be ascending like we have defined here. The moment it would, we would again click on the arrow, it would get into descending, and then the sorted direction would be descending. Sorted by, in our case, it's going to be 2 fields, name and owner name. So sorted by which field would be stored here. You can ignore the draft values for now. Yes, and then the last one is on sort. We'll call this method called handle sort. Now coming here, so you have this property called sortable, which you need to make true for whichever fields that you want to enable sorting on. So we are going to do it on name and owner name. So that's why while I declared these 2 columns, I added sortable to true for both these columns. You would notice that it is not there for any other columns. So this is the second thing that we need to do. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is on sort, we have written a method called handle sort, right? So let's add that method called handle sort. So here we go. This is our on sort method, handle sort method, sorry. Now what will happen here is the moment it will, click on that arrow and do sorting, that particular field name will get extracted, and we'll store it in sorted by. And sort direction is the direction with which we have sorted it. So initially it's going to be ascending, but when I click on the arrow again to sort, then it would be like descending, and descending would get stored here. So I'm printing it with a triple slash, the sorted by and sorted direction. And this is the data that we have. Now data is obviously, we saw at the beginning itself, we are storing all the data that we got in this. So what are we going to do is we'll pass all these 3 things as a parameter to a sort by function that we have written in our helper. So let's create this sort by method in our helper. So I'm going to my helper and I'm adding this method called sort by. Now, what am I doing here? First of all, I've passed the data as a parameter. So I'm going to get that into a constant variable in my JavaScript, which I'm named as data1. Now here instead of field, I've passed the sorted by. So let's say if it is name, it would pass name. If it's owner name, it would pass owner name. So that's the second parameter, which is the field by which we are doing the sorting. This data, like we know, the entire data and the sort direction is by which direction it is sorted, ascending or descending, would come here and sit on the sort direction. Okay. Now, one thing you need to notice, so initially it is ascending, right? So when we click on it again, automatically it will take the opposite sorting direction. So if it was ascending initially, then it would take descending. If it was descending, then again, if you click, it would take ascending over here. Coming to the helper, now we have all the data, we have the sort by, and we have the sort direction. Now in this field, so let's say if it is sorted by name, then the field here would be name, right? This parameter would be name. So if it is name, then we are creating a constant collection variable called sort by name, in which we are going to store our sorted data. Okay, so I am performing a sort on data one. Okay, data one is nothing but our original, all the records that we have. Now this is a JavaScript thing that you can perform. So perform sorting on AB, where sort direction is equals, if the sort direction is ascending, then what am I checking is, in A and B, by the way, there'll be first record of the account and second record of the account. And then we are checking that if the name of A is lesser than name of B, then do nothing, otherwise swap. So let's say if we have account 3 in the A and account 2 in the B, okay, so account 3 is greater, right? It's not less. So then it would come here and it would swap. But if it was like, let's say account 2 and account 3, now account 2 is less than account 3, right? So nothing will happen. It won't swap. But if it is descending, so this is the if condition for ascending, this will happen. But if it's for descending, what will happen? Now we saw the ascending part, but let's say if it was descending, then it would come here. And what it would this time check is that B should be less than A. So let's say in A we have account 3 and in B we have account 2. So it is descending, right? First the higher, then the lower. So if it is this way, then nothing happens. Let's say if it was like this. If A was account 2 and B was account 3, this is not met, right? So it will return 1. It means it will swap. So now my B will go in A, so 3, and A will go in B, so 2. So this is how the swapping will happen. So this is how the sorting takes place using this JavaScript syntax. Next is, if the field was owner name, then again the sorting would happen in the same manner, but just the difference is that owner name is the field label or the field name that we have used in our data table. But in the backend, the value which is stored in this field, right? A.owner.name. So when we are making the comparison, we would say A.owner.name rather than A.owner name, right? Because this is ultimately what we are getting from the Apex. So we are comparing the value from Apex. So rest everything remains the same. Then this time we are going to store the sorted data in sort by owner name. And then we are going to put the sort by owner name into our v.data. And then here we have our sort direction and sorted by. So let me go to Lightning Datatable. And show you. So this is, I sorted by ascending order. So you will see sorted by name in ascending order. After the sorting, we had written the sort direction with a single slash and the current direction name which we are storing in sort direction. And this sort direction, this v.sort direction, you will notice that we are using in sorted direction. So it shows the current direction by which it is sorted. So currently ascending is stored, and sorted by is currently the field with which it is sorted. So currently it is name, because here in the sorted by we have the name field. Now let's say I am sorting it by descending. So you will see that the sort direction is now changed to descending, and this is what we are sending back to the Lightning data table. Let's say sort by owner name. Okay, similarly sort direction ascending and sorted by his owner name. So that's about sorting. Now the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to handle how to do filtering, right? So for filtering, we have added an input field here whose name is filter account, and then we'll have a button whose title would be apply filter. So the moment they'll click on the apply filter, it would go to this method. Now I have declared this method here called handle data. What am I doing? It is I'm getting the value of that input field over here and transferring it to this variable that I have. Now this variable I'm passing as a parameter. Now this is the initial method that we used in our init, if you remember, get account records. So in get account records, what are we doing is nothing. I'm just giving you a recap that we are going to the Apex and getting all the accounts. If we are doing it while init, the filter account would be blank, so there would be no filtering. But if I do it filter by, then it would go to Apex, and this time in the where clause, it won't be blank. So this thing would be executed with a where clause. And yeah, that is how this query would execute. So let's go and test this now. So here we have our data table. This time we have this field. Let me filter it with account 3 and click on apply filter. Oh, it didn't work. Let me check. Okay, I forgot to add the attribute called filter account, because whatever value we'll enter, we are going to store in this filter account. So I added this attribute now. Let me refresh. Okay, now this time I'd put account 3 and apply filter. So this is how the filtering happens. The next thing that we are going to do is enabling the inline editing. Now, in order to enable the inline editing, first of all, you need to mention editable in all the fields where you want to enable the inline editing. So I've done it on name field, owner name field. But yeah, we don't want it on owner name like I told you before. Let me save it. We are doing it on the phone field, website, and the annual revenue, right? So all these things you will be able to edit inline in the data table itself. Now, the next thing that you need to do is you need to add one more handler over here, that is on save. So on save event, we need to call a method that is, let's say, handle save addition. So let me put the code of handle save addition over here. Now, what is our handle save addition going to do is, let's say we put it here. First of all, we have this statement which says event.get param draft values. Now, what is it going to do is, when I'll click on this pencil icon and edit, right, all the records which are edited would get stored over here in the draft values, because event.getParam would return a list of records wherein the editing has happened, and it would get stored in the draft values. Then there is a method which I have in my Apex class named save accounts. Here it is. What is it doing is, it is just accepting a list of accounts and updating the list. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so that's what we are doing. We are passing the draft values that we got into the list of accounts, and upon callback, what are we doing is, you can ignore this code for now, and yeah, why I have kept this filter val is because, let's say if somebody had a filter here and then they would edit it, so we want the editing to happen, and then when the refreshed value would come, like with editing, I want this filter also to be respected. So that's why I've added filter where, in which I am getting the current account by which I'm trying to filter. And then I am calling get account records. So when I'll call get account records, it would get the accounts after we have made the inline editing. And then in the v.data that we have, it will store the new edited data, right? So that is why I've again called helper.getAccountRecords. So let's say I'm saving it here, refresh, okay? And let's say I change the value to 9,000 and I'm saving it, okay? So now it got saved. Okay, but there's one more problem here. Even when I saved it, right, it's still showing me cancel and save buttons. But in inline editing, the moment I save, it should, turn into a normal one again, and it should not have save and cancel button. Now, why is that not happening is, for that, we have something called as draft values. So let's see what is the draft value. So here it is. Even before doing anything, initially, what value will we have in the draft value is something we'll be able to see. So look at the label that I've created here. So get account records, the initial thing which gets called, right? And this will show us the draft values initially, 5 and triple slash. Oh, it's undefined. Okay. Right now it's undefined. Okay, no problem. Okay. But when I do inline editing and I do save, what I need to do is basically, in order to hide this two things upon saving, what I need to do is I need to make the draft value as something like this. So that's why I had this line. I'll make the value of draft values attribute to this, and draft values, by the way, is what we have used here. We have created an attribute called draft values. Where is that? Where is that? Where is that? Okay, that's why it was showing undefined, I think, because I did not create the draft values attribute. Okay. So by default, the value in the draft values would be a square bracket with nothing in between. So when I click on save, right, I want to go back to that original state. So what am I doing? Initially, like when I did the inline editing in my draft values, I had all the records. But after I click save, now I don't want those records to be here. I just want the initial value, which was open and close square brackets. That's it. And then it would again show, like, hide the save and cancel button. So refresh this. And let's edit it to 900. For this time when I save, you got it. Now the save and cancel got removed, because now the value that we stored in the draft values is again the open and close bracket, which was its default value. So in order to hide the save and cancel button after saving, we need this statement. So that's about inline editing. And there's one more thing actually. So let's say we edit this to add more 2 zeros, and I want to filter it by account 3, and let me save it. So now this time you saw that the new record got showed over here, which is with 90,000, and plus the filtering also got respected. Now how is that? Is because here I've written where filter where equals the filter account. So whichever filtering is there, I'm retaining that and then getting all the records, the fresh records again, along with the editing that happened in the inline editing. And in this, what am I doing? Get account records. I am putting the value in the data attribute of my Lightning component. That is why you see the refreshed change, which is respecting the filter. So I think that's about it. We covered all the scenarios. Thank you. If this video helps, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.